Welcome back to the Human Instruction Universal Concepts, the Them Part 2. We're going to continue where we left off.
But again, one needs to know exactly who the them is and how it works. They plan negative. They use people, places, and things. Anything seen, said, or done. And they use this negative 360 system, which also is tied energy to this negative system of either this fight or flight to stop the positive way of life, which is life, and to continue on the negative way of life through negative objectives, negative procedures, and negative scheduling. They are the negatives, the anti, to control, to be the, or use the anti-objectives. So their objectives, they want to achieve, but your objectives, because it's countering their objectives, they want to destroy. So it's anti-scheduling, anti-procedure, anti-health, anti-happiness, anti-positive, anti-focus, anti-peace. Again, also called the Antichrist, the anti-you, the negative system, the them, which most people just abide by and go by, but not knowing exactly what it is. The four negative are continuous problem people. It's a negative system. It's a direct attack of people arguing and people fighting and argue with you. They argue directly with you, or they argue indirectly to another person, but a lot of times it may seem like you because they're arguing with another person and you don't know either one of these two people, but they're really talking about you and just putting you down, and so you just minding your own business while these people are talking about you. And some people be like, oh, well, you're just paranoid, we're talking about us. But it's, if you move, you'll see they'll move closer to you. And if you keep moving, some of them will keep following you. So you'll see the objective wasn't about them talking privately to one another. Their objective was to drop the negative in you by being around you. This anti-positive system to stop, block, and prolong your objectives, to project negative thoughts and negative actions, directly or indirectly, arguing with you directly or indirectly, for you to stay in unsolved problems, to be in a problem state of mind and in negative situations, to cause you to worry, to overwhelm you with 360 degrees of negatives. So the 360 degrees of negatives, it'll make the art of war look like a kindergarten book. So if you look exactly what is the 360 degrees of negatives, you'll find out that it's a lot bigger than the art of war. And if you just go to a dictionary, if you like, look at all the words that begin with miss. And it's a big list. There's miss, dis, in, un. So you'll have miss like misgender, misreport, misroute, misset, misshape, misstrike, misthrow, mistrain, misbelief, misbehave, misbrand, miscall, and it goes on. That's just myths, and there's pages and pages of myths. I can't even believe it. Misposition, misprint, misprogram, and this is all mischannel, mischaracterize, mischarge, mischoice. Wow, there's pages of that. And then when you go to inability, inaccurate, inactive, inadequacy, inattentive, and incensed, and incompetent, incapable, and unable, uncover, uncork, unclear, uncontained, ungrowth, unprepared, unmoral. That's a whole page in itself. Discredit, disdain, disagree, disallow, disfine, disarrange. Can you imagine just going in for one conversation or just something, and they can just use this one page? By the time you get out of the meeting, you're like, what the hell just happened? And then you're confused because you don't know exactly what's going on. There's pages and pages of myths. I can't even believe it. Misposition, misprint, misprogram. And this is all mischannel, mischaracterize, mischarge, mischoice. Wow, there's pages of that. And then when you go to inability, inaccurate, inactive, inadequacy, inattentive, and incensed, and incompetent, incapable, and unable, uncover, uncork, unclear, uncontained, ungrowth, unprepared, unmoral. And that's a whole page in itself. And then you got disconnect, discourage, discredit, disdain, disagree, disallow, disfine, disarrange. Can you imagine just going in for one conversation or just something, and they can just use this one page? By the time you get out of the meeting, you're like, what the hell just happened? And then you're confused because you don't know exactly what's going on. And you got personality adjectives like abrasive, abrupt, abusive, afraid, aloof. And just because somebody's afraid, they could try to make you afraid because they're afraid. So it's this negative empathy that they want to get, and this negative apathy. Well, apathy is basically negative, but and then you got personality, other personality objectives. There's a whole page of that too. It's flashy, flippant, foolish, forgetful, frantic, fretful. It goes on, and it's just ruthless, sad, scary, secretive, selfish, silly. Silly can go either way, but snobbish, sore. It goes on, and that's another couple more pages. Then you talk about unjust, unfair, uncaring, apathetic, hypocritical, to ostracize, pain, murder, homelessness, harassment, psychological abuse, humiliation, deprivation. Lord have mercy. Although one can mix and match these negatives, so the numbers are astronomical. I'm talking about probably millions and billions away. That's why many people haven't quite figured all this out. And when I just start grabbing regular negatives, there's pages and pages and pages. There were so many negatives, I just whittled them down to 10 main negatives. But if you're reading, I think about 10 more pages of just the negatives, and I'm talking about pages that they're filled up with negatives. So hate would have a page under what that would be considered under, although they can go in any direction, because you can mix and match all these negatives. So hate, I would generally put certain negatives that would fall quickly under hate, like hurt or revenge, unforgiving, uncaring, uncompassionate, cruel, cruelty, abuse, apathy, ostracized, distrust, loathing. And then you go into anger, provoke, put downs, agitate, instigate, irritate, exacerbate, exasperate, stereotyping, negative practical jokes, negative humor. Although negative people perceive all negatives, all humor is negative because they want you to be serious. Because if you have no humor, you're more easily toppled over to join negative conditioning. Sexual discrimination, sexual harassment, rumors. Yeah, that's a big list under anger. You're talking about humiliate, frustrate, attack, being rude, gloat, blaming, false accusations, deliberately making many mistakes, criticizing, being impatient, harassing, ignoring, annoying, and so, and then arguing. Between anger and arguing, they can switch up if you really want to, because once you're angry and you really don't know how the whole thing works, then you are easily agitated. So in arguing, you can be criticized, to criticize you, to contradict you, to conflict you, complaining, whining, and making not important, irrelevant statements. Important, and the important means nothing. So you're not getting your objectives done, and they're throwing in other objectives that has nothing to do with your objective, just to cause more agitation, more frustration, more problems, and then denying the truth, irrational behavior, being short-tempered, unjust. And it goes on and on, false accusation. Then there's control, which is torture, punishment, death, murder, pain, suffering, reverse policy. That's a good one. In other words, you did nothing wrong, but because they have a duality in their standard operation procedures, their policy, books on policy, everything is wrong or everything is right, and they just need to go to the right topic. But a lot of people, these SOPs are secretive. But once you start moving up and higher in a position, these SOPs are now in your office. And once they know how how everything works, and you're not down with the sickness, you'll be blackballed. And some people will tell you, oh, you're not blackballed. They have no idea about your life. They don't know nothing about your life. And they're going to automatically argue with you, oh, you're not being blackballed. You're paranoid. I'm not being blackballed. And they know nothing about your life. On what basis did they come up with that? And they know they're just saying that because of their position and that they hold, and the position they need to hold in order to maintain that position. Otherwise, they're out on their keister. So control, continued control, even using traffic, and even pastors will be like saying things like, oh, tell this person that, tell this person, tell your neighbor this, tell your neighbor that, oh, this is that, this is that. They want to be your superior, so they're using the church procedures as a way to condition you to be subservient to ignorance. And of course, there's also the Job effect, to see who you really are, and there's also the Christ effect. That's the end. But you can still beat them, and they'll know you won, even if it took for you to die. But you didn't kowtow to the madness, the sickness of it. Then there's mental abuse, traps and setups, rape. Then there's fear. So there's panic, threats, intimidation, worry, control tactics, surprise or continuous surprise problems, panic, constant disappointment, constant problems of or suspicious behavior. That could be that once you describe what had happened, you can be classified as paranoid, but it wasn't your paranoia that was a lie, because everything you had described was true. But they'll say, nah, that's a lie. You're being paranoid because they say what you're describing is not true, but it is true, and you can prove it with film. And that's how you learn, because at some point you got to figure out, okay, what's going on? And then when you begin to record all the real action versus what people say is going on and what is happening, you can see it's a deliberate lie. And then you'll be like, oh, well, didn't you say that this was wrong and this and this? And they'll say, I didn't say no such thing. But then you record it, or you had recorded it and exposed it and say, oh, here, look, you said it in this thing. Oh, so now you're secretly recording me now. Now, the reason you had recorded was for your understanding, to find out what's really going on, especially when you're naivete. You know, you have this innocence about you that, you know, you believing what this guy said prior was not true when it was true. So you're thinking, oh, maybe I misinterpreted that what he had said, or somehow confused it with some other thing, and come to realize, no, you was correct all along. They're lying. They're playing a game of lies and deception and trying to get you to join this confusion bandwagon. And meanwhile, you're suffering and you're in pain and you're wondering why. Why is all this pain? Not knowing that you're in the midst of this conspiracy, which is not a conspiracy, but so the them is to understand exactly who the them is. So then we move on to confusion, is not knowing and misinterpret, misunderstand, and mislead. They even use greetings and constant rushing you, because fight and flight is a form of rushing you. So they may say, okay, hurry up. What's the next chapter in Bible of Earth? Come on, bring it up faster. Come on, let's go. And meanwhile, they're getting you into this mindset. Hurry up. Come on. People running to the line. If there's a line, oh, come on, you can go on this line. And there'll be 4 or 5 people running to get first in that line. Where you're continuing this, hurry up, I'm in a hurry. What are you in a hurry for? That's why they call it race. It's not really race that we have in existence, but they call it race. But they're continuously rushing you and moving things faster, flashing pictures. Look at the commercials; it's ridiculous. And then there's pride, vain, pompous, gloat, pretentious, ostentatious. Bragging, depression, sadness, guilt, stealing, loneliness, upset, whining, defeat, boredom, unmotivated, indolent, lazy, regret, insecure. And then there's lust, flirt, and greeting, seduction, gluttony, sexual addiction, and sexually transmitted diseases. So you have all these negatives. Again, there's so many. It's a sea of negatives, and it's real heavy. It's a heavy energy. But don't be overwhelmed, because I'm just going to simplify everything. I'm talking about from soup to nuts. I'm going to simplify it so much that I'm going to be like, well, the human instruction. When you follow the human instruction, after you understand the whole entirety of the human instruction, someone could say, okay, well, where's all knowledge? And you could just point to a dot on the wall and it's all right there. And they say, explain that dot to me. And then that's what you explain. So all these negatives are basically under the main negatives, which is like hate, anger, arguing, control, fear, confusion, lying, pride, depression, lust. So these are the basic 10 main negatives. So you don't really have to go through all of them because you'll understand how it all works. So you have all these negatives and they're using this, and they got this down to a science, and most of these other countries don't have a clue as what's going on. So they're willing, or some are willing to fight America. They have no idea who their enemy is, and it's a bad move. We'll go on into deeper understandings of war. Just so you are